Hey everyone, Mitch coming in with the Creators Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So, spoiler season has wrapped up both for the main set and now for the Commander Precons as well. And since I've covered the main set, it's time to jump into all those juicy Commander Precon new cards. Let's jump into it. So, I'm just going to cover these in however Scryfall organizes them. Looks like Untagged Artifacts. There we go. So we're starting off with Dream Thief's Bandana, an artifact equipped for 2 mana. Whenever equipped creature deals combat to a player, look at the top card of their library, then exile it face down. For as long as it remains exiled, you may play it and spend mana of any type to be spent to cast that spell. This is a very interesting, it's a pretty low to the ground piece of equipment. It is one, again, it's look at the top card of that player's library that you are hitting with this creature. So you are kind of like, I mean, gantying is like the phrase sometimes, right? Like stealing off the top of someone's library and utilizing it, mana of any color. You have to pay for the actual cost of that spell, but it can be mana of any color. So being able to kind of like thieve extra cards off the top of your opponent's libraries, that can be really good. It's definitely not for every kind of a deck out there, obviously. Well, you need a creature that can get through, or at least if you have other like equipment that help get that creature through, like a Rogue's Passage or something like that too. You also can take advantage of this with things like, you know, extra combats, obviously getting you this trigger more than once, double strike, so on and so forth. But also, when it comes to this kind of a card, yeah, you can take advantage of playing things from exile. Overall, not a bad card at all. It is one that does give you and generate a good amount of card advantage throughout the game. That being said, it's card advantage that is dependent on how good your opponent's cards are, I guess. So, yeah, if you have some cards that can synergize from your opponent's deck with your deck, or just they have some, you know, absolute bombs that you can utilize, that's great. You might also just whiff and be like, yeah, okay, I got... What? Why is this in your deck? Okay, I guess I got Hill Giant. Weird. Okay, next up. Leyline Dowser, an artifact for 2. Pay 1, tap melee card. You may put an instant sorcerer card mill this way into your hand. Tap it, untap ledge, creature control, untap this. A very interesting card that essentially is like, hey, you know what? Let's get some instant sorceries off the top of my deck, potentially. It does work in the kind of deck that, like, knows what's on top. If you have like a commander kind of like Fibble Flip-ish, you know, I mean the new Fibble Flip, which allows you to look at the top card of your library, great, you know what it is. If it's something that you want, but you don't do that. You can do that. I mean, obviously, although Fibble Flip is probably not the best example because you can just plot from the top of your library too. That being said, the ability to untap this again and again and again can be very good. I mean, I guess like an Urza deck could also consider this one because this is an artifact that you can untap by tapping legendary creatures, so any kind of a commander that gives artifacts abilities, that can be considered too. So it's a pretty interesting card. Self-mill might want this. It does take a while to self-mill, and you have to pay for that. You know, you're just milling one at a time, but there is potential card advantage from that. It's an interesting card for sure. Next up, Bounty Board, an artifact for 3. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Pay 1, tap a bounty counter target creature. Activate only as a sorcery. Whenever a creature with a bounty counter on it dies, each of its opponent's controller's opponents, there we go, draws a card and gains 2 life. This is interesting. Again, Wizards is starting to be like, okay, at 3, you know, for mana rocks, we know that they're not the most efficient. We are giving you some 2s as well, obviously, that are more efficient. But we'll have those 3 mana rocks, the mana list that can tap for 1 mana of any color, and we're going to give some utility to them. Now, this kind of utility is nice. That being said, it's kind of more like a group huggy type, essentially. Like, it's like, oh, okay, I put a bounty on that one. Everyone, let's work together and take out that creature so we can all draw a card and gain 2 life. Do you really want to be giving your other 2 opponents 1 card each? I mean, yeah, like if that one player that you're putting a bounty on their creature is way far ahead, maybe. But also, when it comes to, like, card advantage, sure, you're getting card advantage, and that opponent is kind of like card disadvantage because they're not getting anything, but the other 2 opponents are getting a card as well, so it's like you're drawing 1 to 2. So, is this for, like, every kind of a deck out there that's just, like, desperate for card draw? I mean, like, if you've got a deck that's incredibly desperate card draw, like, maybe consider it. That being said, like, even mono white now is starting to get more and more and more draw pieces in different ways. That being said, yeah, I think this is more just for, like, I mean, actually, certain commanders utilize bounty counters, so those. But also, this is more so just for, like, group hug type strategies, in my opinion. Next up, Forger's Foundry, an artifact for 3 in blue. Tap, add a blue when you spend this mana to cast an instant sorcery spell with mana value 3 or less. You may exile a spell instead of putting it into its orange graveyard as it resolves. Pay 5 mana in total. 3 blue. Tap, you may cast any number of spells exiled from it. Spells from 1 cards exiled with Foundries. Forger's Foundry, if I could talk this morning, without paying their mana cost. Activate as a sorcery. It is interesting. It's kind of like storing up extra spells. I mean, it is only specific ones. Again, mana value 3 or less. I mean, they probably are pretty specific with that because, like, if you got, like, the higher end spells, like, probably starting really at, 5 or more, you'd be like, oh, okay, time warp. I get extra turn. Okay, cool. All right, next turn. Other extra turn spell. Next turn after that. Oh, okay, cool. I'll cast all those from, the exile with this. Great. Yeah. I mean, limiting it is probably a good thing. That being said, obviously, some very powerful things that you can do. That I mean, like, Dramatic Reversal is just an example of one that is at 2. It's a pretty interesting card. Like, if you have, like, a Spellslinger type strategy, and you're not worried about this being an inefficient mana rock that doesn't fix your mana, again, this only taps for a single blue mana, then, yeah, I mean, definitely consider this one. If you got a Spellslinger type strategy and you're okay with this being just slightly slower, but kind of giving you that potential to be like, yeah, let's get a bunch of extra value, essentially, out of those spells. Again, also just consider that if you have, like, those kinds of effects, they're like, oh, okay, cool, I can flash card back or whatnot. This kind of, like, takes away from that temporarily, because they are going to go back to your graveyard if you cast them from exile. You don't get those in your graveyard right away, okay? Next up. Smoldering Stagecoach, a star 5 vehicle for 4 mana in red. Power is equal to the number of instant source cards in your graveyard. Whenever it attacks, the next instant spell and the next sorcery spell you cast this turn each have Cascade, crew 2. Very spicy. I mean, like, vehicle/cascade type effects is very, very, very spicy. I mean, like, I don't think we've really seen anything like this. Yeah, I mean, like, if you have a vehicle deck that has some instant sorceries in it, definitely consider this one. I mean, you probably have instant sorceries in most decks out there, right? That being said, yeah, if you have just a deck that is, like, playing things off the top of your library, getting benefits from casting from exile, cascading type effects, and the benefits from that too, yeah, this is spicy. It's low to the ground to equip it. It can actually hit pretty hard later in the game, and also giving the next instant and the next sorcery. So you're getting 2 spells potentially that have cascade. That's pretty huge. I mean, like, what's that? Maelstrom Nexus? Whatever, the one that costs 5. That's one of each colors. It's like the first spell you cast turns has it. This kind of technically does slightly more, at least on your turn, right? But, like, it's going to be dependent on, well, attacking with this again, and then also having an instant and a sorcerer take advantage of those versus just any kind of a spell. A very spicy card, though. Yeah, again, if you have, like, those big high-end spells that are like, oh, okay, cool, like, you can delve it away. Great. You can, like, cascade into something really, really big after that, too. Not for every deck out there, obviously, but, like, vehicle decks consider it. And decks that really like to use and abuse Cascade, definitely consider this one as well. Moving on to Moxfield says, Untagged Creatures. Thanks, Moxfield. Sand Scout, a 2/2 human scout for 1 and a white. Enters the battlefield. Opponent controls more lands than you. May search life for a desert card on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Whenever 1 or more land cards are put in your graveyard from anywhere, create a 1/1 red, green, and white sand creature token. Ability triggers only once each turn. This is interesting. Again, if it wasn't like that desert restriction, then this would see play in, like, every white deck that could utilize it, not including, like, the budget of it, essentially. Like, again, like this, like, hey, cool, like, I mean white deck, I mean, like, mono white is what I mean, because, again, those typically are the ones that struggle at ramping compared to other colors, especially compared to, like, a green deck. So, yeah, if you're playing against a green deck, chances are an opponent has more lands than you, or if you're just, like, 4th in the turn order, basically, or even not even 1st, essentially, you're going to get there. That being said, again, because it is specifically for a desert, yeah, unless you're, like, utilizing, what is it, Scavenger Grounds in your deck, I mean, chances are still, like, that might just even whiff anyways. So, like, if you already have Scavenger Grounds, it's like, oh, okay, well, I can't ramp them because, like, I don't have another desert in my deck. So, yeah, like, this is, again, specific. If you have a desert deck, obviously this is good because, yeah, this is like, okay, basically, potentially rampant growth, essentially, on turn 2, if an opponent has more lands than you. Yeah, and later in the game, going to be probably, again, there's going to be a green player out there that's got more than you. But also, yeah, really, really good for a deck that is specifically about deserts or sacrificing lands. Again, putting your graveyard from anywhere, though, so keep that in mind. So, like, a self-mill strategy could consider this as well. Making a 1/1 every single time that happens, that can be great. Trigger only once each turn, I should say. But, again, each turn can happen on your opponent's turns as well. It's a very interesting card. Again, in my opinion, for specific decks. If you have, like, a Scavenger Grounds in your deck, could you utilize this maybe in a, like, non-desert type deck? Sure. Are there going to be times where you whiff? Yeah. Times you don't whiff? Sure, as well. Moving on. Thieving Varmint. A 2/1 Varmint with Death Touch and Lifelink for 1 and a black. Tap, pay 1 life, add 2 mana. Of any one color, spends mana, only cast spells you don't own. That is spicy if you have a Thieving deck where you're like, okay, I cast my opponent's spells. Great. If you don't use this. Unless you really need a 2/1 with Death Touch and Lifelink, because you're not going to really utilize that extra effect. Next up. Thunderclap Drake, a 2/1 Drake with flying that costs 1 and a blue. Instant source spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. That's already fantastic right there. I mean, basically like Brawl level of like, you know, like low to the ground, a 2/1 for, I mean, a 2 mana creature that reduces the cost of your instant sorceries. That's huge. I mean, I guess Gobble Electromancer is probably like the normal one, but I don't know. Brawl came to mind for some reason. I guess the same cost. 2/1 flyer, pay 2 and a blue, sacrifice when you cast your next instant source spell. This turn copy for each time you cast your commands on this game. That's very valuable. I mean, this is a card that, like, if you're in a Spellslinger type strategy, that's really, really good. Also, just like being like a sit on the board early, help me throughout the game with cost reduction, and swing through with flying. Like, this is already like, they shoved a lot of things onto a 2/1 flyer. And again, back in the day, it'd be like, a 2/1 flyer, wow, what's the downside? And these days, it's like, no, add all this upside. But yeah, just think about, hey, okay, I cast my commander a couple of times, and then all of a sudden, I can just, oh yeah, I cast this Time Warp or whatever. That's I guess I just go back to like the extra turn spells. I'm trying to think of in blue, like a big spell that's like, oh, I'm gonna win the game. Probably an extra turn spell. You cast that and you're like, oh, okay, cool. I got 3 extra mana. I've cast my commander 3 times. Let's copy that. You win. So yeah, this is a card that can give you a lot of value throughout the game and can be a big finisher for you as well. It's a pretty huge card. Next up, Tower Winder, 1/1 Reach Death Touch Snake for 1 and a green. Enters the battlefield, search your library, enter a graveyard for a card named Command Tower, reveal it, put in your hand. If you survive this way, shuffle. Very specific, obviously, but like, go get your best land. That's a pretty good effect. I mean, I guess the thing is, it is a good blocker, right? And some decks as well, like Finn, you know, Death Touch Tribal, like that is also really good just being a Death Toucher. So a very good blocker for you, potentially an aggressive creature too. But yeah, being able to go get a, again, it goes in your hand. It's not ramping. It is basically, you know, ensuring that you are hitting a land drop because it is, you know, getting in your hand. That being said, yeah, it is a perfect mana fixing card. I can definitely see people who are playing like 5 color being like, yeah, throw this in the deck. I don't know if it's that good personally. Like if you've got the rest of your deck built to like, you know, ramp and fix your mana properly, you're not gonna be like, oh, I have to have Command Tower. I'm not gonna be able to do things. Is it nice to have Command Tower out? Absolutely. It's a very interesting card. But again, like the way we talked about earlier, this can whiff. If you already have Command Tower, you don't have a second one. You're playing Commander. So there you go. Yeah, it's a very interesting card for sure. I think this is one of those ones going to be overvalued by newer players potentially. It's still a very good card. I'm not trying to say it's not a good card, but it's one that people are like, oh, Command Tower is so good. Oh, I'm going to put a card in that can get that. Great. Cool. It's going to be underwhelming at a certain point, but also it can be very good, obviously, early in the game. So, yeah, it's an interesting card for sure. Reach Tribal, if that's a thing. Death Touch Tribal, definitely a thing. Can consider this one, too. Charred Grave Robber. A 3/1 Skeleton Mercenary for 3 mana. Enters the battlefield. Return target Outlaw card from your hand. You can escape it for 5 mana. Exile further cards in your graveyard. Escapes with a counter on it. If you're playing Outlaw Tribal, great. If you're not, no. Just no. Next up, Dune Chanter. A 2/3 Plant Druid with Reach for 3 mana. Lands you control and land cards you own that aren't on the battlefield or deserts into other types. Lands you control have tap, add 1 of any color. Tap, mill 2 cards. You gain life for each land card milled this way. This is doing a lot of work for you. I mean, literally, if it was just that 3 mana 2/3, Plant Druid doesn't matter really what type it is. I guess for tribal decks it does. But hey, lands you control can tap for 1 mana of any color. That would already see consideration in certain decks out there that just want like perfect mana fixing. This just like also makes things into deserts. That's nice for obviously desert tribal decks. But also, again, if you just happen to have like other deserty effects in the deck too, or like if you have a scavenger grounds, essentially, right? That's, I guess today what that one said does. That's like the most used desert, I believe. That's like, hey, pay 2 taps, sacrifice a desert, which it's a desert itself. Exile cards from target player's graveyard. So it's like great graveyard hate that doesn't really take up a spot in your deck, essentially, because it's just one of your lands. Then sure, that gives you other deserts you can sacrifice because your other lands are now deserts too. So that might want to see consideration in those kinds of decks as well that like want fixing as well as having that in the deck. Great. Also, self-mill. Yeah, being able to tap mill too repeatedly is very nice. Especially with self-mill to be like, oh, okay, cool. I just gain an absurd amount of life because I just got, more lands in my graveyard. It's counting all the lands, that are milled that way. So you could gain 2 life. That is not guaranteed life gain. So, like, I don't see, like, just, like, life gain decks being like, oh, okay, cool. A repeatable life gain effect. Great, good for me. Unless they really care about, like, mana fixing as well, then maybe they can consider that. But, like, this could just whiff on actually gaining any life, too. So consider that. Interesting. It's a very interesting card. Again, one that I do think is going to see a decent amount of play for decks that like really just want to fix, but also like happen to have like a scavenger grounds, like another kind of desert in their deck too. Moving on. Stella Le Wild card, a 2/4 human rogue for 3 mana. And is it whenever you cast your second spell each turn, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. Tap copy target in sorcery spell you control. You may choose targets for the copy. Activate only if you've cast 3 more spells this turn. Yeah, this is really good pushing broken. I mean, for a build that is built completely around just abusing this and then some. Yeah, this I believe is one of the face commanders, and the fact that you can again tap to copy a sorcery spell, it does have a requirement, right? You activate only cast 3 more spells this turn. I mean, you cast Opt, you cast Consider, you cast Dramatic Reversal, you win. Basically, you don't win just with that, but you probably win, right? You probably have some artifacts in place, some mana rocks, Dramatic Reversal again and again and again and again and again and again and again. You keep on tapping this because it's not a tap ability and not like a paid ability with this. You just win. So there you go. And also, like, being able to give you, like, whenever you catch your second spell, each turn, you get Impulse Draw. That's very good as well. And again, until the end of your next turn is the, like, best kind of version of that, right? So if you're doing your opponent's turn, you get until the end of your next turn, which is very nice. Yeah. The very good commander, very powerful commander. Next up, Vihan, Goldwaker. My apologies on any mispronunciations. A 3/3 Dwarf Warlock for 3 mana in Mardu. Other outlaws you control have Vigilance and Haste. Beginning of combat on your turn, you may have treasure you control become 3/3 Construct, Artifact, creature tokens, dish other types until in turn. Construct, assassin artifacts. Yeah, I mean, they're going to be vigilant and hasty because of that. So, like, outlaw tribal, yes, but also, like, if you just have a treasure deck, this could be a finisher for you if you have all 3 of these colors. So, being able to be like, oh, okay, cool, I got 10 treasures in play. All of a sudden, I've got 30 power across 10 bodies that are vigilant and hasty. It's kind of funny that they gave them vigilance because they're like, well, we want players to be able to utilize those treasures for mana still because that would just be such a bummer if they couldn't do that. Yeah, I mean, if you have treasures, a lot of treasures, like an absurd amount of treasures, this can be definitely a great finisher for you. You could also build a deck around it, obviously being a legendary creature itself. Next up, Greywater's Fixer, a 4/4 Lizard Mercenary for 4 mana in Rakdos. Each outlaw creature card in your graveyard has Encore X marks its mana value. If you have an outlaw deck, yes. If you don't, no. Okay? I guess change links as well. There you go. Next up, Kiri, Talented Sprout, a 0/3 legendary creature plant druid, so another commander. 4 mana in Naya. Other plants and tree folk you control get +2/+0. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, return a plant, tree folk, or land card from your graveyard to your hand. Yeah, this is a commander that obviously could go plant tribal, tree folk tribal, or, yeah, land graveyard shenanigans, I guess. But yeah, mostly plants and tree folk is what we're going to be doing with this. It does just bring it back to your hand, obviously, not back to play, so that is something to consider. But, like, if you have, I mean, like, if you just have, again, like Crucible, it's kind of like a Crucible Worlds, but, like, with an extra step. Being able to get, like, okay, like, I have a fetch land. Cool, I get that back to my hand. I play it. I sacrifice it. Cool, next turn, I'll get that fetch land again. So you can definitely do some landfall shenanigans with this. Yeah, I mean, I see this more as a commander than a card in the 99. But, yeah, I mean, there's some powerful plant cards out there. Or cards that make plants, too. Olivia Op Outlaw, I believe another one of the face commanders. A 3/3 Vampire Assassin for 4 mana flying lifelink. Whatever one or more outlaws you control to accommodate your player, create a treasure token. Pay 3, sacrifice 2 treasures, put 2 counters on each creature you control active on sorcery. Yeah, I mean, being able to give this double strike can be great. Basically, any of your creatures double strike. Extra combats as well, making treasures can be very, very good. They don't come to play taps, so you know them right away. Are you going to want to sacrifice counters to get creatures on your, treasures to get counters on your creatures? Maybe, like for a finisher, but like you're just making a ton of treasures, useless treasures. So like outlaw tribal, indeed. Savvy Trader. 3/3 Human Citizen for 4 mana, enters the battlefield, exile target permanent card from your graveyard. You may play a card as long as it remains exiled. Spells you cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 1 less to cast. Yeah, that's a big effect right there for decks that want to play things outside of their hand. Again, this does say outside of their hand. We've already seen, I think, with that bear, the legendary bear, that it's been like, hey, that was specifically from exile or from your graveyard. This is anywhere outside your hand, which, again, also includes, like, the top of your library. So if you do have kind of a deck that revolves around casting spells, again, from places outside your hand, great. This can give you a lot of value. Again, like Jumpstart, flashback type things out of your graveyard, exile, like plot things as well, obviously, impulse draw things as well, top library like Future Sight. This can save you a lot of mana throughout the game, and obviously, being able to like get something out of your graveyard again, it's only a permanent card from your graveyard, so it's like not quite as good, obviously, as say like an Eternal Witness, which is like anything, but a lot of things will be permanent, so if you have a green deck, Be able to play that card for mana as exiled. That does include lands then too, because you could play a land, so keep that in mind. But yeah, giving you like a reduction on casting it, that's quite nice. Angelic Sellsword, a 4/4 Angel Mercenary with flying and vigilance for 5 mana. I almost said flagellance, but yeah, it's just like, no, just Flample. Flample's the only one I think right now. Whenever it hit or another non-token creature's battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token with tap. You know what the mercenaries do these days. Whenever it attacks, if it's power 6 or greater, draw a card. Yeah, this is quite good, especially like in, let's say, a blink deck, like a mass blink deck, because this does say whenever it or another token creature about for your control. It doesn't like say like once a turn, which they've been limiting more and more lately with those kinds of things. So this is just like, oh, hey, cool. Whenever another creature comes into play, that's non-token, you get an extra creature that can also adjust power. This obviously can draw you a good amount of cards as well, and you're going to be swinging with it. It's vigilant, it's flying. You're going to be able to get through on at least one player. And, of course, getting its power up to 6 is not hard because you're going to be getting, mercenaries that you can actually make it larger. Or if you have, like, an Anthem effect in play, great, you'll get there. So I can see this seeing a good amount of play for, creature-based decks out there. Or especially, blink decks out there, too. Crackling Spellslinger, a 2/2 human wizard with flash for 5 mana in red. When it enters the battlefield, you cast the next instant sorcery spell you cast this turn has Storm. The first player that I thought about with this is definitely Alec. This is an Alec-type card where you build an entire deck around this and do something absolutely crazy. Being able to give another card Storm is insane. Yeah, that's pretty spicy. Is this for every deck out there? Absolutely not. This is still 5 mana to actually cast this, and you want to obviously have a lot of your spells that you cast in that turn to then give what you are, getting your next in sorcery to get Storm to, so you can actually cast that and get a lot of value out of it. Again, Storm basically being when you cast a copy of each spell that casts for this turn, 2 cards for the copies. It is one of those mechanics or one of those keywords that Wizards, I think, push too far and then realize how crazy powerful it's going to be when they started off with it. So they haven't put it on a lot of things in a long time, and now with this, oh, put it on anything. Okay, all right. I mean, obviously, again, I've kind of mentioned this kind of like a boring answer, but oh, extra turn spell. Yeah, you win. If you cast this plus extra turn spell plus a couple other spells in that turn, you win. Getting 5 extra turns means you win, and everyone should just probably scoop. Anyways, next up, Felix 5 Boots, a 5/4 Ooze Rogue for 5 mana in Sultai. Menace Ward 2. If a creature control dealing combat damage to a player causes a triggered ability permanent you control, that ability triggers the whole time. Eddie and I's wish of 2024. We did an episode last year. We talked about our wishes for 2024. One of them was less, blank, 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 doubles, blank, effects. No, we're not getting our wish, it seems like, because we keep getting more and more of these. Players seem to like these kinds of effects. It's completely fair. Where players are like, well, now I can build around this. Yeah, basically, it's a very, very easy way to build it because you're just like, hey, okay, search for creatures dealing combination player, triggered ability. Got it. Put all those in this deck. You're going to do good. I mean, ways to get them through as well. But yes, this is quite good for any of those kinds of strategies. Next up, Ganty, Canny Acquisitor. A 5/5 Aetherborn Rogue for 5 mana in Sultai. Spells you cast but don't own cost plus cast, so stealing your opponent's cards. Nice. There you go. Play them for cheaper. Whenever one of my creature you control deal combination player, look at the top card of that player's library, then exile face down. Play a card for as long as it remains exiled, and mana of any type can be cast that spell. Yeah, steal for your opponents. Swinging through on your opponents can be great with these kinds of colors. You can get them through with, blue or black has some ways to do so. I guess green does as well. But yeah, being able to give creatures double strike, you don't really have too many ways to do that, so you can't really take advantage of that in too many ways. Like some equipment can help you out with that, or like a Chroma's Memorial, obviously. But I think that's double strike. I'm pretty sure that's double strike. Regardless, yeah, get creatures through. You can even just do a low to the ground flying men type strategy where it's okay, I can just get low to the ground 1/1 flyers out, or evasive creatures I should say. Swing at your opponents, get 3 extra cards each turn. It's quite nice. Next up, Smirking Spelljack, a 3/3 Djinn Wizard Rogue with flash and flying for 5 mana. Enters the battlefield, exile target spell and opponent controls. Whenever it attacks, the cards exile with it, you may cast exile card with paying its mana cost. Yeah. This is quite spicy. It's definitely not for every kind of deck out there, but it's kind of like a Spelljack type card where you're like, okay, cool. I steal that. Awesome. Thank you. I do have to get to attack with this. So, obviously, if you have, that would, I guess, be a lot to consider on your turn. Be like, okay, that opponent's going to cast that spell on my turn, utilizing this and giving it haste to swing. So, it's more so no, you're going to do this on an opponent's turn, steal their spell, and then next turn you're going to swing with it. So, haste probably really doesn't matter with this. That being said, yeah, it's pretty specific. Sometimes you're definitely it's 5 mana. So holding up 5 mana and being oh, I'm gonna wait for a big spell. Ooh, I'm gonna wait for a big spell. Ooh, wait for the big, and it doesn't happen. You're oh, okay. Do I still play it? Probably not. It's just 3/3 flyer. So you're okay. I hopefully have other things to spend my mana on, essentially. But it definitely can be a game-changing card when you do play it correctly. And obviously in a blink strategy, you can blink it Like, if you have blink effects, this is really deadly. Because it's like a repeatable counter effect that you also get an absurd amount of value out of. So, like, again, your opponent's like, oh, okay, cool. Do I cast a spell now? They have mana open. They might have a blink effect. And then, yeah, you blink it, you get the ETB. Again, it's like not on a cast trigger, so keep that in mind. Next up, Angel of Indemnity. 5/5 Angel Warrior, flying and lifelink for 6 mana in white. Enters the battlefield, return target permanent card with mana value 4 less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Keep in mind, this does not say, like, if you cast it, which obviously is why it has Encore for 8 mana, which is a big amount, but again, getting 3 5/5 flying and lifelink creatures and then ETB 4 or 3 times, that's huge out of your graveyard. So, yeah, this is kind of like better Sun Titan in that ETB, but not on the attack. You don't get the attack trigger, obviously, but, like, this is competing with Sun Titan when it comes to that kind of stuff. That might be heresy, because Sun Titan is one of those played cards out there, but, again, you get a permanent card with mana value 4 or less, which is better than 3 or less, obviously. It's a higher threshold. You can also Encore it for a big explosive play. That being said, again, not getting the attack trigger is less repeatability, unless, again, if you're in a blink strategy, then it's a lot of repeatability, so very, very spicy. Orochi Soul Reaver, a 5/4 Snake Ninja Rogue with Ninjutsu for 4 for 6 mana in total in black. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat to a player, create treasure token and manifest the top card of that player's library. Very, very spicy, very, very good. Push treasure card. Yeah, that's really good. Again, it does limit, again, one or more creatures you control combination to a player. So at the most, if you hit all 3 of your opponents, it is 3 times. But being able to get a treasure token and manifest the top card of the player's library, that's very, very good. If you're in a snake deck, a ninja deck, a rogue deck, yeah, definitely consider this one. Or if you're just in a treasure deck or care about manifest, very, very good card. I mean, if you'll be able to get this out in play, like, again, ninjutsuing it out, goodness gracious, for 4 mana. Yeah, that can be an explosive, game-changing play. Eris, Roar of the Storm, a legendary creature, so again, could be your commander. 4 for Elemental Warlock for 10 mana in total, and is it? But it's going to cost 2 less to cast for each different mana value buck in sorcerer cards in your graveyard. Flying Prowess, so every cast your second spell each turn, create a 4/4 red dragon, elemental creature token with flying and prowess. Yeah, that's spicy. It's a cool build around. Being able to just either, I mean, like, yeah, obviously Spellslinger, but you have to have, like, different mana values, but, like, Self-Mill could do that as well. You want to get, if you get 4, different costed instant sorceries in your graveyard, congratulations. This is a 2 mana commander with flying and prowess. It's a 4/4 that gives you a 4/4 whenever you're casting second spell turn. Flying as well, and prowess. And this does prowess too. So again, yeah, more like a Spellslinger type strategy that has different mana values. And obviously, like, things like Delve can really help with that, where it's like, oh, okay, cool, I can have, like, a higher costed card. Obviously, that kind of, like, works with it and against it, because you don't want to get rid of other instant sorceries in your graveyard unless you have, like, redundant mana values, I guess, is the thing. Yeah, this is a really cool build around. And if you have a Spellslinger type strategy that's got, like, a decent amount of, like, different mana values for instant sorceries, definitely consider this for a deck. Could be a good finisher for you too. Moving on, Rumbleweed, an 8/8 plant elemental for 11 mana. This spell costs 1 less cast for each land card in your graveyard. So if you've got, like, a self-mill strategy, or if you've got ways to sacrifice a bunch of lands, or a bunch of fetch lands, I guess, cool, this casts for a lot less, or like a desert deck. Vigilance, Reach, Trample, enters the battlefield. Other creatures you control get +3 with certain gain tramples on a turn. So this is like a overrun type effect that can be even cheaper and also be on an 8/8 that doesn't, you can't just swing with this right away, so it's not like Cradle Hoof in that way. That being said, it's a good finisher for you. Only for decks that can assume that they're going to get a reduction in this. Because if you don't have lands in your graveyard, paying 11 mana for this is still good. But, I mean, like, that's a lot. That's a lot. So, yeah, you don't want that for 11 mana. Yeah, if you have ways to, if you got a good amount of fetch lands, I guess, or if you've got, again, self-mill or lands to sacrifice themselves or, like, deserts, essentially, yeah, definitely consider something like this. It's a really good finisher for you. Next up, moving on to the Untagged enchantments. Thanks, Moxfield. We ride at Dawn. Enchantment for 3 mana in white. Legendary creature spells you cast have convokes. Your creatures can help pay for them, essentially. Whenever your commander attacks, create a 1/1 mercenary. Cool. All right, so basically, this is a way to cheat out legendary creatures. I mean, not cheat them out. You are still paying for them, but your other legendaries or your other creatures can actually help get them out. I mean, like, here's the thing. If you have a token-based strategy, like, and you have ways, maybe, I mean, like, obviously, if a board wipe happens, then, like, you lose out all your tokens, essentially, right? But, like, let's say you've got a token-based strategy, a go-wide strategy, just being able to get your commander back out, like, and cheat on its mana cost by turning, like, every single one of your creatures into mana dorks, that's huge, essentially. So, if you have a go-wide strategy, consider this one. And also, again, making a 1/1 every single time your commander attacks, that's nice. Being able to add to that count again. So, like, if your commander attacks and gets taken care of, like, you're taking care of, like, one of the 2 commander attacks that you're having to pay next. That being said, Like, yeah, if you have a legendary tribal deck, goodness gracious, like Eddie got so much extra legendary things from this set to consider. We'll get to some other ones here in a little bit, but yeah, I mean, definitely consider this one because now all your legendary spells, which again, if you have legendary creature spells, I should say, if you have legendary tribal, you can cheat on cost for a lot of things out there. Next up, Discreet Retreat. Enchantment Aura, enchant land for 4 mana. Enchant land has tap, add 2 mana of any one color, spend a to cast Outlaw spells direct reveals from Outlaw sources. Or you catch your first Outlaw spell each turn, you draw a card, lose 1 life. If you have Outlaw Tribal, definitely. If you don't use this. There you go. Moving on to Untagged Instants, or should be instant because there's only one. Dead Before Sunrise, an instant for 4 mana in red. Until end of turn, Outlaw creature control, get +1/+0 and gain. Tap, this creature deals damage with its power to target creature. Are you in an Outlaws deck? Yes, this is really cool. I mean, again, being able to give your creatures extra power, that's nice. And being able to have them tap to dish out power. I mean, there's that one, like, colorless creatures gain. There's like a brawl card, not brawl, but there's like a card that says brawl or something like that, like Tavern Brawl, something like that. Creatures just can tap and deal damage, deal power to other creatures. That's really cool. Like fighting without fighting, because like you don't have to actually hurt your own creature by doing that. That being said, if you don't have an Outlaw deck, yeah, don't use it. Easy. Moving on, Untagged Lands, or should I say land. Cactus Preserve, a land desert. Enters battlefield, tap, add 1 mana of any type that a land you control can produce. Pay 3 until end of turn. It becomes a XX green plant creature token with reach or XC grace mana value among your commanders. It's a land. It's a very interesting card, I will say that. Like, here's the thing. Well, like, let's say you utilize this like with like the Dragon, like which has a mana value of what, like 9 or 10? It's up there. Yeah, this can hit really hard as a land, like being a 3 cost. Hey, now until end of turn, it's a 10/10 commander or whatever it is. 9/9. I can't remember. The Dragon's like 9 or 10. I'm sorry. It's one of the two. I think it's 10. Is it 10? Anyways, yeah, that's a lot. And also, you might be thinking, oh, cool, this is a land that can tap for any mana, essentially, right? And I've got a 5-color deck. Yes, but no. I mean, like, here's the thing. Again, it enters tap, so it's a slow land. And, like, it's kind of reminiscent of, like, Path of Ancestry, but that one just automatically taps for any land of any color. This is like, oh, gosh, there's that one artifact that does this, like, the Star Compass, kind of in a way. Yeah, like once you get set up, this is really, really good because it's like taps for any color that you want it to. And also you can turn to a giant creature most likely in that kind of a deck. But it's also one that's like risky because, again, like let's say you're keeping a hand, your starting hand, let's say you keep it and it has 3 lands in it. You've got one other, let's say a basic, you got this and something else. Like, okay, this can maybe tap for like 1 or 2 colors when it comes into play. And it doesn't like help you with the colors that you don't already have access to. It's a tough card. It's one to like play out and see like how it works in your deck. Like, yeah, it's a utility land. Like at the end of the day, it's utility land. Like if you just like need like creature-based lands, consider it. Like if you don't really care about this fixing that much, and this can fix later. And like if you get lucky again in like Command Tower turn 1, yeah, this is just like Path of Ancestry essentially without the scry and like with it becoming a big creature. It's an interesting spot. I'll say that. It's definitely not for every kind of deck out there. But yeah, if you've got like a 1-color deck, obviously you can consider because it's going to tap for the color that you want. 2-color, definitely as well. 3-color, yeah, you're kind of getting there where it's like, okay, like it's not going to help me fix where I need to fix, but like if I really care about like creature lands, great, cool. It can become a really big creature land, especially if my commander has a huge mana value. That being said, once you get to like 4 or 5, it's going to be really tough to justify including this kind of a card. So yeah, make sure you're considering that. Next up, Untagged Sorceries. Cataclysmic Prospecting. A sorcerer for X red. It deals X damage each creature for each mana from a desert. Spend the cast spell, create tap treasure token. Yeah, I mean, like, for just, I guess here's the thing. When it comes to just, like, X spell damage, some decks will just take anything. They're like, oh, yeah. Like, just the more X spell damage I can get, great. X spell damage every single creature. Doesn't matter if it has any other, like, clauses on it. Great. I just get that. If you have a desert tribal deck, my goodness, is this a card for you. This is a Wrath, plus this is get a ton of treasures most likely. If you don't have deserts, maybe don't consider this one again unless you're just like really heavy into every single X damage spell I can utilize those, okay? Moving on, Back in Town, search for X2 in a black, turn X target outlaw creature cards to your area of the battlefield. If you have an outlaw deck, it's great. If you don't, it's terrible unless you have a changeling deck. Then it's also great. So there you go. Embrace the Unknown. Sorcerer 3 mana in red. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. Retrace. So this is interesting. It is reminiscent of, there's like that retrace for like the same cost but in blue. That's like draw a card. So this is like, again, impulse draw 2, which like, I guess if you're like permanent draw versus impulse draw is like 2 impulse draw equal to 1 draw. Probably. But yeah, again, until the end of your next turn, you can play those cards. Nice. Next turn, again, giving you access to it longer than just like this end step, essentially, which is nice. Being able to replay it again, I guess that's what Retrace does. Cast card from your graveyard, discarding a land card, so paying its other cost. Again, you can discard, again, like, here's the thing, I guess that other one I talked about earlier, the other Retrace, the blue one, you can discard the card that you draw if it's a land. This one, like, you're impulse drawing them, so you can't discard an impulse drawn card, because it's not in your hand. But yeah, being able to change your lands out into 2 impulse draw, it's really, really good. So it's more for decks that like want to play, you know, from exile or off the top of their library, gain benefits from that, or just like have a way to, again, if you have like cost reduction, this can be really good too. Like to, you know, cast this for 2 or even 1, or, you know, again, playing from your grave or playing from outside your hand with a retrace on this is very nice too. Or like getting benefits from discarding. It's an interesting card, that's for sure. But again, like, any kind of like a draw effect, it's always going to be better, obviously, if it's at instant speed. Sorcery speed kind of limits that. Lock and Load. Sorcery for 3 mana in blue. Draw a card, then draw a card for each other in-sorcery spell you've cast this turn. Plot for 4 mana. Yeah, this can be quite spicy. If you are casting a bunch of in-sorceries on a turn, like, you know, like impulse draw type stuff, yeah, it's going to be huge for you, because obviously you can cast this for free, and this is probably going to be more so what you're going to be doing with this. You're going to be, you know, just plotting this off to the side, waiting for a big turn, and then just be like, oh, okay, cool. Draw a bunch of things, and then keep playing even more spells. So yeah, this is like a very good, like, Spellslinger, like, Stormy type strategy kind of card. Outside of that, yeah, it's just an interesting card. You're not going to, like, get a lot of value out of it from just being like, oh, okay, cool, I'll play this in any deck that has instant sorceries. Not really, unless you're unless you're planning on casting a lot of them, because paying 4 mana to maybe like, okay, cool, I drew 2 cards, sorcery spade on my turn. Good for me. No. Okay. Moving on. Arcane Heist, sorcerer 4 mana. You may cast target in-source card from an opponent's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell will be put into their graveyard, exile it instead. Cypher is back with this. Interesting. Exile this spell, encode on a creature. When that creature is common to a player, its controller may cast a copy of it for free. Yeah, it's very interesting. If you really care about casting your opponent's things, great. Maybe like a mill strategy, you could utilize this too to like get the best things out of your opponent's graveyards. Obviously, a strategy that has like some creatures that have some evasion, especially if your commander has evasion, you know you have that obviously. Or like a flying men type strategy where like, okay, I have a bunch of creatures that have evasion. Cool. But yeah, you want to make sure like with this kind of effect for 4 mana, yeah, if your opponent has like a giant instant sorcery in their graveyard, you're getting a lot of value out of this. But like chances are you're probably not getting something that is a giant amount of value most of the time. And yeah, you want to make sure that in that case you're getting incremental value throughout the game. Being able to get through that cipher is huge. Next up, Pyretic Charge. A sorcerer for 5 mana in red. Discard your hand and draw 4 cards. For each card discard this way, creature can go up +1/+0 until end of turn. Plot. So it can be a good finisher for you. I mean, being able to just give your creatures, I mean, discard your hand, that can be like +7/+0 right there. So they go wide strategy. This can be huge. Obviously, you're going down in cards then, right? If you have, that's kind of the thing of this is pretty interesting. The more cards in your hand you have, the bigger that pump is. But again, the more cards you're going down in net, essentially, right? You're going from 7 down to 4 because you're drawing 4 cards. That being said, if like you have less than 4 cards in your hand, like let's say you have 0 cards in your hand, this is 5 mana, draw 4. That's quite nice. You're not getting any pump effect out of it, though. So it's like a give and take with it. Plotting this is very nice. You can save it for when you need it, too. But yeah, it's an interesting card, that push and pull. This can be a good card draw card for you. It can be a good finisher for you, like a wheels type strategy. You might want to consider this one, like self-wheel. But yeah. Anyways, Elemental Eruption, a source for 6 mana, create a 4/4 red dragon elemental creature strong with flying and prowess. Storm, spicy. So a good finisher for you, like again a Spellslinger type strategy. It is interesting that it's like flying and prowess versus like flying and haste. If you have another hasty effect out there, obviously this is much, much, much better. That being said, like the prowess is nice to have, like if you do survive a turn. I mean, these creatures survive a turn on your next turn, because you obviously have a bunch of like Spellslinger type effects, casting a lot of things. Prowess is going to come in huge with that. It's interesting. It's a very good Storm finisher for you, but again, it's not like an immediate finisher for you, unlike other Storm cards. Unless, again, you have a way to give them all haste. Then it can definitely be an immediate finisher. Moving on, Vengeful, regrow. They source for 6 mana and green. Turn to 3 target land cards from your graveyard of the battlefield. Create that many for 2 green. Plant worker tokens with reach. You can also flash this back. Here's the thing. Do you have a deck that can take advantage of getting lands in graveyards? If you do, cool. This is 6 mana, ramp 3. Nice. And also make, 12 power across 3 bodies that have reach. And you can also flash back to do it again. Do you not have a way to get lands in your graveyard? Don't use this. I mean, if you got a bunch of fetch lands, you got a bunch of self-mill more so is probably what you're going to have, or lands that sacrifice themselves, a commander that might sacrifice lands as well. Yeah, consider it. If not, don't consider it. Heartless Conscription. Search for 8 mana in total. Exile creatures for each card. Exile this way. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled into mana. As though as many types cast spell, exile this. So, a big wrath effect at a big cost. This reminds me of, oh my goodness, why can't I remember? Oh, the 8 mana one, Decree of Pain. There we go. Is that one is? 8 mana is a lot to pay for a wrath. This one is exile versus destroy, so like you're getting around indestructible. So like you are nearly ensured that you're getting rid of everything on the board, right? Basically, unless you have like a Nezahal on the other side, like I bounce it, haha. Not bounce, like blink and come back. That being said, yeah, this is a pretty big effect to like kind of like give yourself like a separate hand essentially. That's just like all those creatures that you got rid of. Now you can just like utilize them throughout the game. You have to spend mana, you have to pay mana, right, to actually play though. Those can be mana of any type, essentially. Yeah, this is, again, like a game-changing card. It is one that is very expensive. So, like, you usually don't want your ass to be anywhere near 8. Like, 6 is pushing it sometimes. But, hey, if you want, like, a big, spicy play, this is going to be more like a big, spicy play versus, like, one that's like, oh, I need to include this thing in every deck that needs a Wrath. Probably not. But, yeah, if you've got a big mana deck out there, yeah, it's going to be a game-changer for you. Be like, oh, yeah, getting to 8's no big deal at all. I can ramp very quickly. Or you can reduce the cost of this, whatever it is, and play this, changes the game entirely, wipes the board, and then you're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, just play all your creatures, thanks. This exiling is probably a good thing, so you can't just like use it and abuse it again and again and again. But yeah, a very spicy card. Now this episode is coming to a close, though. It's time for me to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts are on these cards. If you're interested in these cards, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.